Using metallic cardstock to create an elegant edge is a way to add a touch of class to any card project. But what do you do if you don't have any metallic cardstock, or your metallic cardstock doesn't match your embossing powder? Well, here's a quick and easy way to create the perfect metallic edge. Here are the tools and products you're going to need to do this technique. First, you're going to need some sort of focal image, and I'm using this elegant wreath stamp from the Winter Wonderland Stamp TV kit. Then, you're going to need some embossing powder, and I am using the Ranger Superfine Detail Gold. You're also going to need an anti-static pad, some Versamark ink, and you're going to need some cardstock. Now in this case, I'm using some of the Gina Designs Pure Luxury Wine with Everything cardstock. And this cardstock is so elegant. It's got a little bit of a texture to it, yet it embosses and stamps very smoothly, so you'll like the way your stamped images look on this cardstock. And I'm using some of the Gina Designs Pure Luxury Heavy Base Weight Ivory cardstock. And I do like to use a heavier cardstock when I'm doing this metallic edge technique. To begin, I'm going to take the anti-static pad and just remove any oil or static that's on the surface of my cardstock. Then, taking the wreath stamp, I'm going to ink it up with some Versamark ink. And I'm going to stamp it right in the center of the piece of Wine with Everything cardstock. Next, I'm going to take a piece of scratch paper and some of the Ranger Superfine Gold Detail embossing powder, and I'm going to sprinkle it all over that wreath. Just make sure there's no excess gold embossing powder anywhere on there, and then I'm just going to replace that embossing powder back into the container. Next, I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to emboss the gold embossing powder until it comes up nice and shiny. And it doesn't take very long for that to happen. You want to be careful not to burn the powder. Just as soon as you see it begin to turn gold, you know it's done and you can move on to the next section. And you can see how pretty that wreath looks once it's embossed on the Wine with Everything cardstock. And now, to create my metallic edge, I really won't need the anti-static pad because it doesn't really matter if any of the embossing powder sticks to any other parts of this cardstock. So I'm going to begin by taking a little bit of the Versamark pad, and I'm just going to tap it onto one edge of the cardstock, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other edge. And then using my scratch paper, I'm going to cover that with embossing powder. If there's a little empty spot, you can just go back and add some embossing powder to it. Move this out of the way. And now I'm going to emboss those edges. And it doesn't matter if your lines are perfectly straight because your top layer is going to cover up on top of all of that, so that really won't make a difference. Okay, now once that's cooled, and it only needs a second to cool, then you can do the same exact thing with the other two sides. And again, sprinkle embossing powder on those two other edges, like that. Once again, put that back in the jar, And now I'm going to emboss my final two sides. Now that I've created my frame, all I need to do is attach my focal image on top. And you can see once that's attached on top, you can't see any of that unfinished look underneath. And you can use any type of tape for this. And there you can see now my embossed edge looks exactly the same color as my embossed wreath. And here's my finished card project. Why cut into a whole sheet of metallic cardstock when you can create a metallic edge using embossing powder? It's inexpensive, quick and easy, and a perfect match every time.